Okay, before I start boring you with all presentation, I want to give you a small story. I was on a flight 6 months back, and something very interesting happened. I noticed my neighbor, who's in the center seat, with a very interesting watch. I asked him, "What's this watch? You know, it's looking very nice, but looking different, unlike a very regular watch." He said, "See, there's a big story behind this watch. So do you want to hear the story?" Yes, I said yes. He said, "This watch was gifted by my father to me when I was in US. I said, "What was so special about it?" One day, in one of my birthdays, my father called me and said, "I have 2 watches for you. You can choose one of them as your gift. You decide what you want to wear." One watch was a golden watch with all diamond-studded stuff, with nice straps, one of the most expensive, elite watches one can ever think of. The second watch was an ordinary, rugged-looking watch. Right? I chose the second watch. And what is the reason behind it? The first watch was presented by my mother to my father during the first anniversary. Sorry. The rugged-looking watch was presented by mother to my father. The golden watch was presented by the college where my father used to work during the retirement. Right? But I still chose these rugged, nice, looking watch, which was appealing to me. The reason why I chose this is because I will stop my story here. At the end of the presentation, I'll give you the answer for this. What is the reason for choosing that watch? Right? So hold on to that, please. Before we get on to this, Sridhar talked about variety of technologies which are coming and disrupting our lives and so on and so forth. One thing which is really real is that technology has really changed the way we live. It has really changed the way we interact. It has really changed the way we buy things. It has really changed the way we communicate, even to your wives and spouses, right? So technology is everywhere. It's really occupied our life. Now, the different dimension to this technology is also from the people perspective. Now, people, from a people perspective, you are empowered with more and more information. You tweet, you do Facebook, you share information instantaneously, you socialize, and you've got to be enabled. And there are a plethora of mobile devices applications which are coming. Then there are a lot of social tools people are bringing into your business. In fact, one of the statistics says that most of you use some form of third-party tools, irrespective of controls in the organization, to deliver your job. Very simple example. How many of you have used WinZip? Zip. Okay? How many of you is licensed? Many organizations we have surveyed, we have done consulting. 75% of organizations do not have a license. I'm just giving a very simple example, right? It's like, and many unlicensed softwares come in. Similarly, how many of you have accessed your information without a right amount of security controls? Many occasions. So today, you can't stop the user. As Sridhar really pointed out, IT doesn't decide what user is supposed to do. The user decides what he will do with IT. Right? That's really real, getting real. Now, third dimension of the whole thing is that the role definition is changing. Now, employees are no longer a manager-employee relationship. They are self-forming teams. For a given situation, they form a team. They storm, they debate, they discuss, they deliver. That's how the organization is moving. The second, customers are no longer your vendor-customer relationship. Customers decide the brand. Again, this was clearly pointed out in the previous presentation. Customer decides what product a vendor is supposed to deliver. If it requires customization, if it requires creating something new, it requires innovation, a vendor is supposed to do it. So he's no longer a customer. He's in fact your inventor. Customer is your inventor. Customer is your research guy. Right? Similarly, your partners are no longer attached to you permanently. They are dynamic. When in need, they come together. When not in need, they dissociate each other. So there's a very flux of relationship happening between customer, employee, and the partner. And this is being possible only with technologies like social, media, mobile, and cloud. Now, the whole set of businesses, they're getting optimized. And the very important point to note here is that you're optimizing interactions across multiple people. You're not just simply enabling interactions. You have to optimize interactions across multiple entities of customers, partners, and employees, which is very important for a business. The storm of technology innovation, 4 different dimensions. Your social computing, mobility, cloud, analytics. They are really taken as the storm. So these 4, if you have to withstand the onslaught of this storm, what is it you have to do in your organization from IT infrastructure perspective? The essence of this presentation is about what is it I have to do. Now that I know that social business is really killing me, now I know that cloud is really on almost on the verge of in my data center. Not everybody is implemented, but it's almost there. In a couple of years' time, all of you will be some form of cloud you'll be implementing. Analytics has become imperative. There is no choice. You have to implement analytics if you want to really move ahead with a competitive advantage with your business. And mobility is absolutely no choice. 90% of your organization, your employees in organization, will demand business applications on their mobile. There's no choice. Now that all these are on the edge, all these are already coming in, what is that you have to do to prepare yourself? Right? I just want to summarize this whole presentation in 5-6 action items for you. Very important thing to notice is that this social networking, mobility platform, cloud computing, one of the biggest things which is going to impact is on security. If you have to look at the common thread of a challenge across all these disruptive technologies, it is security. Right? So the statistic says that while it's great to have these projects in my organization, the biggest concern on top of my mind is about how do I ensure that I implement these in a secure fashion with no concerns of my data leaking out, by ensuring that unnecessary information doesn't leak out of the organization. Like social business is extremely dangerous. There needs to be restrictions in terms of what needs to be communicated, what cannot be communicated. Okay? If you give extension, like you make your employees available on LinkedIn, your Facebook, and on your Twitter, right? You need to have some restrictions in terms of what is to be done, what cannot be done, right? Similarly, your very simple example, when we want to today, what organizations are doing. When I want to understand about my competition, all I have to do is look through your Facebook and Twitter, right? You will know every project organization is doing. We do that quite frequently. Somebody applies for an interview in IBM. First thing we look at their Facebook, we look at their LinkedIn, we look at their Twitter accounts, right? Collective information, multiple tweets, multiple contents, if you merge all the pieces together, you will know a complete geography history of that person and also the organization's project. Let's say, for example, somebody is applying a job for me from a competitor. I will know exactly what my competitor is doing, which project is working on. There needs to be some restriction in terms of what can be shared, what cannot be shared. It's very, very important, right? So security and privacy becomes the biggest problem. Similarly, especially with cloud computing, there are concerns raised. Can I have my data on my cloud? Can I have my financial data on cloud? Are there any guidelines? Are there any restrictions the government gives? If I'm a bank, even bigger problem. If I'm a hospital, can I keep all my hospital records on my patients' record on my cloud, public platform? Is it really feasible? All these are a very big concern. So what is it I have to do from a security perspective is that now the social business is really, really good from a perspective that it enables productivity, it enables cost saving, it enables ease of information. For example, the information which is not possible by huge amount of research is now possible just by enabling social media. Your customers, your partners, they are giving you more inputs, which is going to help you improve your product. It's extremely good, no doubts about it. There are some bad sides of it, right? There is an increase of 155% of malware is increasing on every mobile phone, right? Attackers are using social network to get into your organization. You should be very careful about it. Now, there is a data leakage issues are there. Intellectual capital, all your IP is getting lost. Somebody is actually pulling out. I'll just give you some example. We were doing a consulting for a government organization, and he is ISO 27001 certified person, right? When we did this consulting work, we figured out that somebody from China is taking away all the designs. Somebody is hacking at your network, your infrastructure, and taking away all the designs, right? You're certified, great. See, day by day, it's not about how secure you are, It's about how do you outsmart, how do you think so ahead of your hacker. That's getting more important for you, and which is not getting possible by anybody. If your organization, you're focused on a particular manufacturing or a bank or a telecom, you can't be thinking about IT security. That's out of your reach, because the people who are hacking are completely outsmarted you. You need a dedicated set of people. You require a dedicated set of technology organizations to do research on that and come out with solutions for that, right? So you need to think in these angles. Similarly, companies are very struggling to manage social media. I can tell you that today, though every company claims that we are in social media and all that, very, very restricted, limited information. They are not really leveraging it, right? Even if there's information coming on social media, they're struggling in terms of how to leverage the information to give an input for the business for enhancement for the product or services. So these are the problems social business gives you. So what is that you have to do as a CIO? Number one, you need to develop a workplace strategy. In your organization, you've got to have a strategy for a workplace. When I say a workplace, it could be your tablets, it could be your mobile computing, it could be your even simple PC or a laptop. You need to have one clear strategy. What is it I will allow? What is it I will not allow? What capabilities are required? What is not required? Which are the applications I will do here? Which I'll not do here? What is my cost benefit? All this you have to have a very clear strategy and vision, right? That's for something very, very important. But the second important thing is that you cannot restrict access to any of the applications. You cannot restrict access to any of these information when it is really required. If it's really adding value to you, you should not restrict. So the question is, while you have a control, you have a strategy. The strategy is not about controlling and stopping people from accessing information. The strategy is about, so if you have not have a strategy for unified communication, and if you really want to go leverage social business, please look at unified computing very, very seriously, right? Now, we talked about how your data is exploding. The amount of data which is every year. I think Sridhar mentioned about the data which was created and the storage which was sold. Now, data which is created is far, far ahead of what has been sold. It means that your data is outpacing your storage capacity itself, right? This big data analytics has really taken us by storm. So you need to have a very clear strategy in terms of how do you manage these explosion of information, right? What we call is complexity. For example, there are 3 dimensions to this whole storage business: complexity, governance, and flexibility. Complexity in terms of the amount of information, how am I going to manage? Governance in terms of who's going to have a right level of access, how am I going to store the information, what is going to be my policy, how am I going to allocate the space, and so on and so forth. And the flexibility in terms of when I grow, especially the budgeting. The statistic says that around 20% of your budget goes on storage spending. If you look at the IT budget from IT infrastructure perspective, 20% of your money on IT infrastructure is being spent on storage. So you need to have a flexibility in terms of how am I going to leverage this information. Is it going to be called as a data for investment for analytics, or is it going to be called as an investment for a particular application? You need to have that flexibility coming in picture, right? You need to effectively use the storage. Now, when it comes to big data, there are 3 dimensions to it: velocity, variety, and volume. You got to manage volume. It means I have huge amounts of terabytes of data. I need to know how to manage it, and I need to know different. I should know what is my policy behind policy for different types of data. For example, your audio data, video data, social media data. I need to have very clear governance mechanisms for it, and the velocity. Velocity is about acceleration. Now, how do I provision resources? How do I automate things? How do I implement technologies which will help me access the information faster? So these 3 are important aspects when it comes to storage management for big data. Mobile computing, we all know how pervasive it is. Mobile has become. One of the problems with mobile devices is that mobile devices are seldom dedicated to organizations. Typically, the mobile devices are shared with the spouses and kids, right? You need to have a policy in place. How do I ensure that official data and the personal data is clearly segregated? And similarly, in the event of a loss of mobile data, how do I ensure that the data is deleted? Or if an employee moves out of the organization, how automatically I'm able to come out and say that the the employee has not taken any organization's intellectual capital along with him. How do you ensure that? So these are very, very important. Now, you need to have mobile device management coming in place. And for your customers, For example, there are two aspects of mobility. One aspect of mobility is about enhancing productivity for your employees itself, right? It means if I'm a banker, I want to do faster banking, better banking, right, with my mobile device, basically. The second aspect of your mobility is about enabling mobility for your customers, basically. How do I ensure that all my applications are available for my customers on their mobile phone? Because customers are no longer using only PCs. Customers are using tablets, different form factors of mobile. I want to make all my applications available on mobile for my customers, right? So that's a different dimension. So when you look at mobility as a strategy, you need to have both these. Productivity aspect of it, enhancing workforce, enhancing your employees for better productivity, and giving applications for your customers so that they become more sticky to you, right? You need to enable them more and more. Now, there's a connection between, again, mobility and unified communication. And this very clear statistic says that there are top 5 things which are driving mobility. Unified communication is a very, very important aspect of it, right? Moment you become mobile, the very reason you are mobile is because you have audio, video, those flexibilities in your mobile, smartphones, so-called smartphones. And moment you have smartphones, automatically it enables you automatically for unified communication. So if you have the unified communication in the back end, it becomes a lot more, and you're able to be social, you can enable social business in your organization. So these are very, very closely connected, right? Now, as I said, mobile can give you a lot of benefits. It also comes with a lot of issues. Your data privacy, data security, mobile virus, malware, all this, and mobile device management. You will see that your rate at which operating system changes on your PC is far, far lower as compared to the rate at which your mobile operating system changes. If you have iPhone or a Samsung phone or thing, you have ice cream, sandwich, pizza, burger, all kinds of your versions are coming in. Your iOS 6, iOS 7 is going to come now. Every 6 months you're going to have a major change, and every second week there's a minor change. Okay, and mobile devices. I mean, we keep changing devices once in a year, right? The form factor changes. So when I'm rendering my applications on the mobile devices, I need to ensure that I'm able to render the applications in whichever format I want, right? It means today I may use iPhone. Tomorrow I'll throw the iPhone and use Samsung Galaxy, right? My application my look and feel should exactly remain same, right? I really can't say I created this application for 3" by 4" and I can't render that in Samsung, or it looks clumsy there. Right? So you need to have a mobile application development strategy which can cut across any type of mobile devices, number one. And similarly, from your operational management perspective, different types of mobile devices for your customers, for your employees, you need to manage them. It means at any point in time, you should have a remote button capability in terms of revoking rights, enabling rights, bringing in the user, bringing in authorized devices in your network. You need to have those MDM capabilities in place, right? It's very important. Cloud, again, this is no-brainer. Cloud is really becoming reality, because if I've been talking about 1 year back, there was a lot of discussion about cloud. Adoption was very poor. Today, it's really becoming reality. Most of the organizations have some form of cloud. When I say cloud, again, do not assume just as a public cloud. Public cloud or private cloud or hybrid cloud, all these are becoming reality in every organization. I'm sure if I do a survey within this room, you will 70% easily, you'll have some form of cloud. Some form of, in terms of, you'll have virtualization, you'll have shared services, you would be offering some kind of a notionally chargeable services for your users, right? You may not really bill it at this point in time, but you will have defined services which are being delivered via private cloud. Most of you would have implemented virtualization, so on and so forth. Now we can extend this to next level and say, I want to do a services design. I would like to do charge back for my end customers and ensure that the users get what they pay for, and they get what they pay for it only. What only? So it means users should not get what they are not paying for. So that optimization of infrastructure is happening today, right? Now, the very important insight into cloud is that the topmost reasons for using cloud today, as per statistics of IDC, this is again IDC figure, is that business continuity is the biggest reason people use cloud. The moment you think of cloud, you immediately imagine that my production, I would like to keep it safe. My DR, disaster recovery, I would rather experiment that in cloud first. Right? So most of the people are moving their disaster recovery into cloud. It's a reality. Right? And very clearly says 44% of the people, the biggest reasons for cloud is, I would like to enable disaster recovery. Because by moving into cloud, I don't need to worry about building my data center. I didn't have a DR in place. Now with this cloud coming in picture, I can easily go ahead and do my DR, right? Now, from a cloud perspective, three basic aspects: your consolidation, virtualization, and your standardization is becoming important. Okay, this is no-brainer. I mean, all of you would have implemented at some point in time, right? I'm just giving you putting all these pieces together. You will see at the spectrum, you have this public, private, and hybrid cloud, and you have multiple smartphones, you have multiple service providers, different types of devices, and various users, partners, and so on and so forth, right? So this whole spectrum, if you have to be ready to be geared up, then there are different delivery models available. Delivery models could be your basic, it could be simple managed services. You would like to outsource it, or you want to, you do yourself, or you want to do entire thing on cloud. These are possible. Now, if you want to do all this, then you need to have a maturity in your IT infrastructure. Now, some of the interesting statistics we'll give you. We did something called infrastructure maturity assessment for 150 customers in India. This is as recent as last month. And what we figured out is that in India, typically, the average maturity score is around 47 out of 100. It means 50% mature, 50% not mature, not really get up, right? And the maturity levels we were seeing highest in telecom and banking, okay? And the manufacturing, the heavy metals and those kind of organizations, which are industrial organizations, are really trying to ramp up at this point in time. The industries which are really grown fast, but they are not yet ready, are examples like education industry, right? New technologies are coming, a lot of things are coming, but they don't really get up. Pharma, for example, they don't really get up, okay? They're really catching up. I'm saying this is average. Again, this could be different for your organization, but this is just a statistical average we'd like to share with you, right? So if you want to understand how you gear up for yourself for SMAC, you got to do infrastructure maturity yourself and figure out, is my infrastructure ready to take on this MAC storm for the future? Okay, 5 takeaways. In summary, security is the most important in a SMAC strategy, okay? Because all these SMAC, your social, mobility, analytics and cloud gives you exposure on security. So, if one of the biggest things, first thing which is pop up your mind is, how am I going to manage security on this Mac, right? You can't be social before you become unified. Very, very important. You got to have different form of communication. You need to bring in audio, video, and text together if you really want to be social. Analytics is important. You got to implement it and prepare for onslaught of a network. It means moment you go social, moment you implement SMAC, any form of SMAC in your organization, you will find that your network chokes because different devices, as Sridhar pointed out, you had earlier 100 PCs, 100 employees, 100 PCs. Now you have 300 devices because you have a mobile phone, you have a smartphone, you have your tablet, and so on and so forth. So all these are going to come and hit your network. You've got to be prepared for revamping your network if you're really looking at mobility very seriously, right? Obviously, last one, not the least, is use cloud to control the cost, also enable some new businesses. So these are the 5 things you got to be ready. Now I'll just come to that part of the story. Now you'll be wondering why I started with that story, right, about golden watch and this diamond watch. In summary, if you're really struggling to figure out what should I do, is there a real benefit of doing this? Am I doing mobility project for the sake of project? Am I doing a social media project for the sake of project? Or is it really helping me, right? If you really want to analyze that, something which is very important you need to look at is, go back to the cloud, the story of the watches. The reason why that person, the father this person chose that watch is because that was a braille watch. The watch, what they saw was a braille watch. It means it is a 3-dimensional thing. I can feel it. I can touch it. You don't need to be, you can be blind. You can still see the time. And his father was working in a blind school as a principal. The day of retirement, he got a golden watch. He got this braille watch, right? And his wife gave this golden watch to him as a part of the gift. But he says that I have been using this watch for so many years, right? And this is most valuable for me. So for your organization, you can go ahead deploy SMAC, no issues about it. But look at, are you going behind the golden watch or are you going behind the braille watch? Are you looking at utility? Are you really looking at ROI? Is it really useful for you? Not useful for you? Am I doing this project for the sake of, it's nice fancy stuff? Everybody's talking about cloud. I'm going to go talk about cloud. Or am I really saying that, is there a benefit for me? I'm a blind guy and I want a braille watch. Very specific requirement I have. Right? So if you really are struggling to decide between a golden watch and a braille watch, talk to us. We do consulting for customers. We develop master plans for customers. And we do this day in, day out. Thank you.